She said she felt something was off. 3 weeks before she found anything, she was right. Not right in the sense that she had evidence. She didn't. Nothing had happened yet that she could point to. No suspicious message, no missed call, no obvious change in routine. What she had was a feeling, a low, persistent sense that something about the relationship had shifted, even though everything on the surface looked the same. 3 weeks later, the evidence arrived. And when it did, it didn't surprise her. It confirmed something she had already, in some sense, known. The common explanation for this is intuition, a vague, almost mystical sense that some people have and others don't. The research suggests something more specific and considerably less mystical. What she was detecting wasn't a mystery. It was data. Her brain had already processed it. Her conscious mind just hadn't caught up yet. Here's the mechanism. The brain is, among many other things, a pattern prediction machine. It builds a model of the people closest to you, how they move, how they speak, the rhythm of their attention, the specific way they respond to you in 100 small daily moments. This model isn't something you build on purpose. It happens automatically, continuously, below the level of anything you'd call thinking about it. When someone's behavior changes even slightly, even in ways that would be hard to describe, in words that model registers a mismatch, the actual behavior doesn't match the predicted behavior. And a mismatch between prediction and reality is exactly the kind of thing the brain is built to flag. This is the same mechanism behind the research into thin slicing. The finding that people can accurately judge personality traits from just seconds of behavior, often without being able to say what specifically informed the judgment. The brain extracts the pattern. The conscious mind gets the output, a feeling, without the underlying data. What kinds of changes get flagged? Mostly things too small to consciously catalog. The timing of replies shifting by minutes. A slight change in how often someone makes eye contact during conversation, or how long it lasts. A shift in vocal tone, not the words, but the pitch, the pacing, the specific quality of warmth or distance in how someone says ordinary things. The frequency of small affectionate gestures, the ones so habitual that neither person normally notices them until they stop. None of these, individually, would register as evidence of anything. They're too small, but the brain isn't evaluating them individually. It's evaluating the pattern as a whole, continuously, against a baseline built from thousands of previous interactions. And when enough small things shift in the same direction, the pattern recognition system does what it's designed to do. It sends up a signal. The signal usually doesn't arrive as a thought. It arrives as a feeling, unease, a sense of distance, a vague wrongness that's hard to locate. And because it doesn't arrive with an explanation attached, the conscious mind often dismisses it, reframes it, attributes it to stress, to being tired, to imagining things. This is where the second part of the mechanism comes in, and it's the part that explains why the feeling so often turns out to be accurate. Microexpressions, the brief, often involuntary flashes of emotion that cross a face before the social mask reassembles, are processed by the brain even when the conscious mind doesn't register them. Research on these expressions has found they're remarkably consistent across people and cultures, and that observers respond to them even when they can't identify what they saw. A flash of guilt, distraction, or discomfort lasting a fraction of a second can register as something feels off, without ever being consciously seen. Voice carries similar information. Studies on vocal cues have found that listeners can accurately judge emotional states, like discomfort or deception from voice alone, even with the content removed entirely. The brain is listening to more than words. It's listening to the texture underneath them. Put these together, and what emerges is a system that's continuously comparing the present to an enormous archive of the past. Flagging deviations the conscious mind isn't built to catalog, and surfacing the result as something that feels less like data and more like a mood. The uncomfortable part isn't that this system exists, it's that most people have been taught not to trust it, to wait for evidence, to treat the feeling itself as unreliable until something concrete shows up. And often, by the time something concrete shows up, the feeling has been sitting there, ignored, for weeks. This doesn't mean every uneasy feeling is accurate. The pattern detection system isn't perfect, and it can be triggered by things that have nothing to do with infidelity, stress, external pressure, changes that have an entirely different explanation. The feeling isn't proof of anything specific. What it is information. Real information, produced by a real process, even when it doesn't come with a reason attached. She said she felt something was off 3 weeks before she found anything. The 3 weeks weren't a delay in her intuition. They were the time it took for her conscious mind to catch up to what the rest of her had already noticed.